Welcome to episode number 20 of the Blitz Take. I am here with Fox Carolina News sports reporter Mitch Summers, and I'm interested to hear what he has to say about last night's interesting game between Georgia Tech and Clemson. So welcome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you inviting me on the show. I'm glad to kind of chop it up in some football. I love talking football.
So my first question was, what were your thoughts on last night's game?
So obviously it was a bit of a slow start. First quarter, kind of rough. You could feel the offense is trying to feel its way. At least on that phase of the ball, the defense was awesome. I mean, Clemson's defensive line is going to be a problem for anyone around the country. And on the other side of the coin, the offense is going to be a bit of a problem for everyone in the country in a completely different fashion. DJ was just kind of going through his reads a little slow. Receivers having a tough time getting open. The offensive line was struggling a little bit. The first quarter was just kind of the bad news bears. And then you move immediately to the second quarter, completely different Clemson offense. Finally scored a couple touchdowns. DJ really looked in rhythm, was getting the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. I think I tweeted something about this. I think it was in the second quarter. DJ was like 9 for 13 passing for like 80 some yards, 83 or something like that, 87. And a couple of touchdowns, drives that helped led. One he threw, the other one was a Will Shipley run. As opposed to in the first quarter, no scores, 2 for 3 passing, 25 yards. So, I mean, that's been kind of the tail of the tape for DJ for quite some time. You'll have these moments where you look at them, you're like, man, there's the 5-star recruit. Why can't we have that all the time? And then you have other times where you're like, wow, should we be really looking at Cade Klubnik? Which is also really another interesting storyline that we got to see a little taste of at the end of the game. So kind of in summary, the offense in moments will look like it has taken steps forward from last year, but still seems to be a work in progress, especially when you start getting to some of the more tougher defenses down the road. But Clemson's defense is just everything you build it to be. They're going to have right up there with Alabama for one of the best defensive lines in the country. They're just scary. I mean, just go back and watch some of what KJ Henry and Brian Breezy, those guys, what they were doing was just plain nasty.
Mm-hmm. What stood out to you offensively and defensively?
Yeah. So on the offensive side of the ball, the things that were interesting was actually kind of the lack thereof of the ground and pound, the rushing attack. One of the things that we were preparing ourselves all off season was to have this at least 2-headed monster or potentially 3-headed monster of Shipley, Maffa, and Pace. And those guys were pretty well held in check all game long. So the offense really what offense they had really had to go through the right arm of DJ. And I would say overall, yes, there were some ups and downs, but I would say that there was a lot more ups with DJ than people give him credit for. There was a couple of balls that he had that were really, really impressive, high quality throws that the receivers just plain couldn't get their hands on. So I think so DJ, I would say, if anything, in my opinion, took a step forward in this game, at least in game one. And I think they're still trying to figure out their receiver core. I think there's just some guys who are struggling to get open. There were some balls that were right on the money that they just alligator arms, and they're still trying to figure out that receiver core. So I guess the couple things that stood out was the running attack not being as effective as we expected it to be, although Dabo Swinney said after the game if there was anything he was not going to be concerned about was the rushing attack. So they'll be fine ultimately at the end of the day. They'll get things churning. Then the thing that was moderately interesting was DJ taking a step forward. And I think the thing that will be most interesting and potentially more put a cap on the offense in the future is just the group of playmakers still trying to find their way around. And on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, just that defensive line. It's really hard to there was a lot of good that happened. But if you look at the interception that Andrew Mokuba had, the reason that he had that is because KJ Henry was barreling down the quarterback. The immediate snap of the ball, he's pushing his offensive line. I think it was 5 yards immediately right back into the lap of the quarterback. It kind of altered the throw a little bit, probably underthrew, caused it to be underthrown so much, which led to an interception from Mokuba. And there was another play. I forget the corner, but had a ball literally right in his hands for a potential pick six. And that was forced because, again, there just was immediate pressure. Any quarterback that tries to hold on to the ball for more than 3 seconds is going to have their helmet ripped off. This defensive line is plain scary.
Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on the rest of the schedule?
So the ACC had a pretty good showing week 1. There is this isn't the ACC of past where it is Clemson and bust. So at the end of the day, I think Clemson has the most amount of X factors, the most amount of blue chip talents on their team. I mean, they're gonna have 3 first-round draft picks on that defensive line. This is the year of KJ Henry. I'm saying that at this point now, you're hearing it first. This is the year of KJ Henry, and right up there with Miles Murphy and Brian Breezy. And just don't forget, in a couple weeks, Xavier Thomas is coming back and ready to also rip some helmets off with Rook Okororo. It's such a hard name to say. But yeah, that's gonna be 4 or 5 NFL draft picks on a defensive line. So all of those X factors locked in with Clemson having one of the best running backs in the country and Will Shipley. And I think slowly but surely we'll see DJ take small incremental steps forward as the season progresses. I truthfully think this is going to be another ACC championship for Clemson, getting right back to restarting their legacy of winning conference championships after not getting it last year.
And my last question is, what game or games on the schedule are you most looking forward to covering?
Oh, my one I cannot wait for is the end of the rivalry with South Carolina. Something that I've only been here for about 4 months, and after doing just 2 games, I knew that there was an ample amount of dislike between Gamecock fans and Tigers fans. I knew they didn't get along. But did I know that there was this level of disdain? Absolutely not. These people do not like each other. So, coming into that game, it'll be interesting to see where they are at their points of the seasons. I'm expecting Clemson to be still one of the top teams in the country. South Carolina had some warts that they need to work out after their week 1 performance. It was rather lackluster, similarly to Clemson, where they started off struggling and then were able to have, mainly because of special teams, have a huge surge later on in the game. But I'm not expecting South Carolina to be at the same place in the season as I expect Clemson to be at that point. I'm not expecting South Carolina to be a team that could potentially make it to the college football playoff. But still, they're a team that has high expectations for themselves, and 2 teams that don't like each other, and it'll be my first time getting to see those 2 play against each other and feel like the real energy of such a powerful rivalry. I'm really excited for that one, just to see the tempers flare. It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for your time, and it was awesome talking football with you, and hope to have you back on soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.